What's up, nerds and nerdettes and wee little nerdlings all? It's your buddy Big Johnny G for Two Gun Fiction presents Legendary Gaming. Midday, Monologue Monday, or whatever day you're watching this. Thank you for joining us. I'm your buddy Big Johnny G, and I like to talk. And you can tell my New York accent when I say things like talk.
Yeah.
I do. I like to talk about things I love, such as board games. Now, usually on these Mondays, you never really know what I'm going to talk about. But I do have a sort of regular series that I come back to from time to time here, and that's my How to Build collection. Whatever it is, whether it's science fiction games or fantasy games, superhero games. And today, what I want to talk about, especially since a new one recently came in, well, recently at the time of the filming of this video, not recently in a few months when it drops. But yes, recently, my perspective, a new game came in of this category, and I just really started thinking about this again. So please, why don't you join me down the table, and I'll tell you about building your Hidden Traitor collection. Now, I usually do these where I break down the games by number of players. And a lot of these, you'll start with the one-player games, the two-player games, and then I'll talk about the multiplayer games and cooperative versus competitive. But when we're dealing with a game like this, Hidden Traitor game, that's completely out the window. Mainly because you need a minimum number of players, so there's not going to be any one or two player variants of this. I mean, a two-player variant of who's the traitor? Really? I don't know. But, so that's going to limit this. So instead, I'm thinking, why don't I start with some of the earlier games and then talk about some of the variants of this style, this concept that I've enjoyed over the years, that I know, that I've played, and that I own, Just like they always say about writers, write about what you know about. All right, so I think as far as I'm concerned, the earliest thing I know of is the Mafia. Are you Mafia? And the variant that was born from that, Are You a Werewolf? Where someone in the party is secretly a member of the Mafia or secretly a werewolf. And as you're familiar with these style games, over the course of the night while everyone's sleeping, the character, the player that is the bad guy here, gets to, usually in most of these games, kill. Maybe for younger audiences, maybe capture might be used, but it's still the same general idea, taking someone out of the game. And everyone else has to then, the next morning, wake up and try to figure out who did this. Something I'm not the only one that refers to it as, but something I like to call mob rule mentality gaming is what it comes down to. So yeah, the early Werewolf and Mafia games were great, but then they evolved. And in the original games, it was usually one person that was privy to some information, and everyone spoke to this one person, and then they kind of sussed out based on what they thought and the person thought. But now these games have a lot more diversity in the styles and the characters that are there that are getting information. And these games did evolve into like the One Night series of games. One Night a Werewolf, One Night a Vampire. They have a large selection on this. One Night an Alien. I think there's even a One Night Super Villain, if I remember correctly, for this. That all uses the same concept of the hidden traitor and an individual, or in most of these cases, most of, if not all of the other players, are playing characters that somehow get information, that they can then trade information back and forth. But maybe not all the information is always right, and maybe there's a liar thrown in there somewhere, which makes it really interesting. So those are some of the early games that I know of that really started making this genre of gaming popular. Now, essentially those games use cards. You draw a card, you secretly look at it, and someone else in the game is involved as the storyteller, the one running the game, the one that knows who secretly is who. And that individual is then given your card and makes a note of who you are. And that's it. There's usually no components to this game. You could do a bag drawer to pull the names out. You don't even need cards. If you know the basic system of the game, you don't even need to buy Werewolf or Mafia and just write the names down in a piece of folded paper and put them in a hat. Very, very super low components. No components, really, if you want. But there are other games that bring in more components to this, like dice. And the first one of those that comes to my mind is Bang, the dice game. And yes, I say it like that because it has an exclamation point at the end of the word. This is set in the Old West. And in this game, everybody knows who the sheriff is. Whoever that player is, you all know. Yes, that is the sheriff. The sheriff will have a or more deputies, but that's a secret. Nobody knows who the deputy is other than the individual that drew the card. And then there's some bad guys and even a loner thrown in there that all have their own agenda, and most of it has to do with, well, if you're a deputy protecting the sheriff, if you're a sheriff taking all the bad guys and the loner out, and if you're the loner taking everybody out, and if you're the bad guys taking out the sheriff and the deputy, or something like that. So this causes a lot of chaos in the game. But there are dice to be rolled that will help you determine what you're able to do, who you're able to attack during the course of the game. And likewise, there's a similar game for Marvel, if you're a Marvel fan, all about Captain Marvel, called Captain Marvel Secret Scrolls. And this is just a reskinning, literally, of the Bang game. Now, there are card versions of both of these games as well. There's a dice and card version if you're a fan of Walking Dead for this style of game. But this isn't it. Just having some dice components, there are games that take up a little bit more room on your table yet. Now, a couple that have boards that come to mind have the sci-fi feel to them. And one of my favorites is Escape from the Aliens in Outer Space. And in this game, there will be one or more players at the table who are going to be infected. This is a sci-fi game set in outer space, in a satellite, a medical satellite that is orbiting the Earth, where they are trying to find a cure for a disease that's ravaging the planet, and they're using some recently found alien DNA, as one does, to try to find a cure. And of course, this mutated several of the people, turning them into monstrosities that just want to kill and or mutate everyone else. So you're trying to escape. Oh, did I mention the power is out? So you're doing this in the dark. And there's no real board. All the players have a screen. They have a spiral notebook that has wet erase capabilities and a little wet erase marker. And you all play on the same level of the spaceship that you have decided to play the game on. So you all have the same map. You all start from a slightly secret starting area and then go for the escape pods. And you have to play cards that are going to create noise, either where you are or you are like throwing an item or something, creating noise somewhere else to distract the monsters, because it's dark, they can't see you, so they're listening for you. And it incorporates the sense of hearing as well as the sense of playing in a dark satellite where the power is out. It does it really great. But if you want to get into some real style boards here, Battlestar Galactica, which is out of print now. There's a new skin on this game. They're using a Cthulian skin on it now called Unfathomable. It's essentially the same game as Battlestar Galactica, but Fantasy Flight Games no longer has the rights to Battlestar Galactica, so they can't publish new copies of the game. So instead, just take it and reissue it as Cthulhu, because that's universal. Nobody has a copyright to stop you from doing that. And that's what they did. So both of these games involve one or more of the players secretly being either a Cylon, or if you're playing the Cthulian version, they're Deep Ones, or cultists for the Deep Ones, and Dagon, the Elder God. And instead of being in space, you're at sea, so it is that kind of separated and helplessness, nowhere to go, both aspects. And from what I can tell, Unfathomable does bring forth a very nice dark quality to it that kind of supersedes what Battlestar Galactica had. But I haven't played Unfathomable. I have played Battlestar Galactica, and I had a lot of fun with that game. Now, instead, if you have a flair for the medieval, for fantasy, and for mythology, then maybe Shadows over Camelot is something you're looking for. This game doesn't always have a traitor in it. Of course, you could always play with the traitor mode in it, but sometimes not knowing if there's a traitor in it makes it an even trickier game to play. Because now you honestly don't know if you're preventing the traitor from getting away with something, or maybe there really is no traitor, and you're preventing this other player from succeeding in saving Camelot. That could be pretty intense. And again, that has a board, and is centered around doing tasks that are commonly familiar to anyone that knows the stories of King Arthur and Camelot, such as the Holy Grail, such as fighting Lancelot, the Picts and the Saxons fighting. It covers a lot of territory, and it gives you a nice feeling of the whole Camelot stuff. Dead of Winter. Now, if you're looking for a hard as nails, gritty board game to hit up and play, then this zombie game, literally in the middle of the, well, Dead of Winter, might be what you're looking for. Now, again, this is another game that doesn't always have to play with a traitor mode, but you can. Or again, you can play it with a maybe there's a traitor. And what I really love about this is, besides everything enjoyable, the tension, the bits of anxiety that come from playing a hidden traitor game, this game is also giving you some really, if you're playing with the grittier cards and haven't removed them from the game, and the more adult cards, this is giving you a really tough life scenario situations of having to make some really hardcore choices, sometimes for a phrase a lot of people don't like to hear, but for the bigger picture. It really does hit you hard, this game. So combining that with the hidden traitor aspect, really it puts this game, as far as I'm concerned, and it's sci-fi, not spin-off, but it's sci-fi sister game of Gen 7. It takes place in space on a generational spaceship. It brings these games to a higher level because it is adding in this whole extra grittiness. If you keep the cards in. You don't have to keep the really bad cards in. I like to do that, though. Now, a board game with a twist on this is the Betrayal games. Betrayal at House on the Hill, Betrayal at Baldur's Gate. There's a Betrayal at Mystery Mansion for Scooby-Doo fans. And in these games, everybody starts off cooperatively helping each other, trying to figure out what the mystery is that's going on here. But then at some point during the game, something's going to happen, and it's going to signal the end game to start. And what happens is somebody is revealed to be a betrayer. Now, the beautiful part of this game is you don't know. No one sitting at the table knows if they will end up being the betrayer or not, because it's a cross-checking system on a chart. And depending on what you found and where you found it, boom, this is the betrayer, and this is the storyline, so go to this page. Not like a choose-your-own-adventure book, but to detail what's going on now. The betrayer has their own book, the survivors have their own, the betrayer is told what they need to do to win the game at this point, likewise with the survivors. And this is fantastic because literally you do have to try to help each other because you don't know if you're going to be the betrayer. So by hindering, you can't play that way. You can't play hindering someone else just in case you become the betrayer down the road. No, don't do that. So that brings that added level, a little twist to the game that I've always found a real lot of fun. Now, one of the last things there's two more, so that's why I say one of. The last things I want to talk about is a game called Spectre Ops. There's two of them out right now, and these consist of what I have always called the 5th player shift, where they are, if you play up to 4 players in the game, it is always going to be 1 player versus all. But once you bring a 5th player in, then it's going to be what looks like 1 player versus 4, but really one of those 4 is secretly a traitor helping the one. And only the one and the traitor know who's who. And I really enjoy when a game brings that, because it changes up the game style and the gameplay. So all of these games bring something new, something different to the table. But I recently got one that I just want to cap off this series with and let you know about, because it really grabbed me by the throat. Yeah, so the last game I want to mention, the newest addition here as far as Hidden Traitor games go, is Blood on the Clock Tower by Pandemonium Games. This game has really taken me by storm. I love this game. I love storytelling in this game. I love being a part of this game. And it eliminates player elimination. If you get eliminated, you still get a vote. And you still get to interact with the other players and talk to them and, come up with ideas and gossip and be part of the mob mentality. It offers different levels of the game with different interaction levels, different villain, monster, demon roles, and each one of the scenarios has its own complete set of villagers and outsiders and minions that will help or hinder the demon. And has a great way of mixing and matching to create your own matches and villains and travelers coming in. And it just really has become, as far as my love of Hidden Traitor games, it's definitely become the #1 for me. It might be something you're looking to look into if you're looking for a nice big party game that's going to easily accommodate 7 or more. But at the same time, there's variants of the game so you can play with as little as 5. So it pretty much has everything that I've been looking for in a Hidden Traitor game. What are some of the ones I missed? What are some of the ones that are your favorite Hidden Traitor games? Put that down in the comment below. And please don't forget to subscribe. We have a lot of fun here with everything we do. This is a for fun channel. So show us a little support. I'm your buddy Big John Ed G for Two Gun Pigs presents Legendary Gaming, and I am out of here.